Hustle is overrated. Systems are undefeated. Every $5 million business is built on repeatable processes, not endless hustle. Welcome to Game Plan Leadership. Our goal is to coach business leaders to team victory by mastering the fundamentals of leadership, transforming teams, and building high-performance habits. I'm Desi Mayner, founder of Mayner Leadership, where we have helped over 1,000 service businesses and their leaders across 50 different industries to build a streamlined, efficient business operation with elite leadership and a united, high-performing team. We are here to set you up to win. Every other week, we're going to drop fresh plays to sharpen your leadership game. If you're ready to stay ahead of the competition and lead your team to your next victory, make sure that you are in the huddle. Join our roster today so you never miss a strategy session. And stay tuned until the end for an actionable game plan that you can start using today to elevate your leadership and take your business to the next level. Let's dive in, Playmakers. All right, Playmakers, welcome back to Game Plan Leadership. I'm your host, Desi Mayner. You're probably seeing something a little bit different. We're going to try a new season of something. And for this new season, we're bringing a co-host on, my good friend, my past client, my partner in business, Mr. Cole Russell. Cole, welcome on.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Heck yeah, Cole was an All-American soccer player. He was a professional soccer player, and now he is a college soccer coach. And what we're going to do is we're going to have some different segments, and we're going to roll through these segments. We're going to riff a little bit. It's going to be entertaining. It's going to be educational. And, of course, there's going to be an action plan and some tactics to help you win as a leader and win in business. So let's kick this right off with the first segment, which is the Huddle. So let's break this down. This is a segment where we bring you the latest in leadership and business with a little side of sarcasm and, of course, a sports analogy. So let's jump right in. So here's what we got, Cole. Breaking news. Small business leaders everywhere are blaming their team for missed goals. Spoiler alert, it's not their fault. Turns out that your team might just be following your perfectly unclear instructions. The moral of the story is, if you're the coach and no one knows the play, don't yell at the players. Maybe grab a whiteboard and start over. So let's kick it off right there, Cole. What do you think about this?
It is the best viewpoint to have if you are a coach. Own up to every single mistake that is made. I see this all the time, and it's the best way to have full control over everything. Is if your players, your people in business, everyone makes a mistake. Hey, it's because they weren't ready for that situation, and that's on you. So you should probably do better.
Yeah, I mean, just absolute accountability right off the bat there. You know, and I think one of the biggest things that we deal with all the time is lack of clarity and just not knowing exactly who's doing what and why and how and all of those types of things. But I've got a business example for you. So some people might know this guy. His name's Elon Musk. So he took over Twitter, and now it's called formerly known as Twitter. Sorry, now known as X. So when he took over that company, he implemented a whole bunch of layoffs. Okay. And that took the workforce down by 80%. So do cut some costs, right? So from 8,000 employees to about 1,500 employees. So let's talk about, was this good or bad? So this basically massive layoff, it actually included some key team members that were responsible for moderating the content and some of the engineering of the technology. So the remaining employees were actually super unclear about what to do. And there was expectations were all over the place. The zig and zag were way off. And that actually led to a whole bunch of operational challenges and a decline in the platform stability. So obviously they've now fixed all of that. But it was like a real big dip in the overall platform in itself, especially the user interface when that happened, because they cut with 6,500 people upon takeover.
It's crazy amount.
All right, so what's the point here? Well, it's like, make sure your teams know the play. dealing with lots of different HVAC people, plumbers, electricians, really all the home service trades. A lot of times it's like we did a ride around, and they should know what to do now. And that was the entire onboarding and training. It's like, dude, how long does it take to learn? I mean, what's that one movie? Moneyball. And they're getting the guy to play first base, and they're like, tell him how easy it is. And the other coach is like, it's incredibly difficult, right? And that's like the name of the game in business.
Yeah, 100%. You have to know everything. Everyone in your business, in your team, they have to know exactly what's going on.
Yeah. So do they have a
there's
playbook?
A gap, you're gonna be screwed a little bit.
Yeah. Is there a playbook? And then have you trained on the playbook? Do you go back to the playbook? All of those kind of questions. So take a lesson from Mr. Elon Musk. Have a playbook. Make sure that your key people know the playbook and know how to run the play. And let's not blame our team for missed goals when really it is absolutely your fault, right? So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the huddle. Let's remember that the best leaders, they know when to call the right play, and they know that their team knows how to run that play because you've trained it. You've practiced it. So let's try to not laugh at our own blown calls. Let's take accountability for them, and let's get back in the game plan. And, Cole, this is one of my favorites. So we kind of branched this. We're calling this the Coach's Q&A. So it's like I'm on the media stand here. So the first one here for the Q&A segment is basically no topic is too big, no topic too small, too weird, too obvious. If you are thinking it, chances are that someone else is too, an owner, an operator, a leader, a middle manager, even a frontline employee. So what we're going to do here is we're going to tackle real questions from actual clients and get you some of these answers, okay? So this first question today, Cole, this is a good one, man. And I absolutely love how they put it. My clients, we have some fun time when it comes to humor. The question is, how do I organize my chaos? Because right now my system is just Post-it notes and panic. So good from a client, not going to disclose the name or even the industry. But yeah, how do I organize my chaos? Because right now my system is just Post-it notes and panic. So Cole, what I want to do is let's go at this from a sports angle.
Okay.
And say, in your world, how would we answer that question when it's like, man, the team seems very chaotic. Our performance seems very chaotic. We're just not organized as a team. What do we do?
For sure. When it comes down to chaos, that usually means that you feel like you're losing on every front. And I think the best way to overcome chaos, and it always will be in every facet of life, is just pick one thing to focus on and just get a little mini win.
Yeah.
You don't have to solve everything. Just solve one problem and then solve another one. And then
so give me an example of that.
Okay. So big thing for me is when I meet with athletes all the time and my players, it's always chaos up inside the head. It's always like, I have way too many thoughts. I don't know what to do. I'm thinking like 8 steps ahead, and then the thing that I thought was going to happen didn't happen, and I'm lost. My head is moving too fast.
Yeah.
Pick one thing to focus on. Usually it comes down to communication. Maybe it's a little action that they do on the field that they can do without failure. It's just something that they know that they're going to succeed at, that they can succeed at, that will give them not necessarily a total overabundance amount of confidence, but it'll give them something to make the next move, make the next play, and stay involved in the present moment. And it just has to be one simple task. And so for Post-it notes, if that's the idea, hey, just solve one of those Post-it notes.
Right?
Just figure it out. Just one, and then take one away. Or organize all of those things in something that's, digital, that makes it a little bit less chaos and it's all in one place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have to figure out how to simplify.
I think that's a great route, man. I love the one thing. Let's take those Post-it notes and put them into like a Google Drive folder. And here's the thing, but what I've learned here, especially in businesses, this also happens in sports too, is like all ships rise with the tide. So you focus on that one thing. What you'll learn is like 3 other things will also get better,
Yep.
So, but yeah, it's like what, and it doesn't even have to be the most impactful thing, right? So it's like, hey, Desi, how do I organize my chaos in my business, right? Just like Cole said, start with one thing, right? What do you have your mission and your core values written down? Yes, no, awesome, right? Then write them down. And if they are written down, awesome. Print them out, give them to everybody, and start talking about them a bunch. You just started to organize something right there, right? So it's like don't because it's very easy to get super overwhelmed, right? I got operations, I got team building, I got culture, I got the processes and the playbooks and yeah, it can get like, whoo, that's a lot. Pick one thing, right? If you're like, I need a process, start with one process, make one checklist, and then you move to the next thing, right? Because if we're going to fix 19 things, you're not going to fix anything. And it's pretty much how it goes in sports and in business. Just pick one thing and get it organized, or just choose your organizational system, which I love Google Drive and Google Folders because anyone can access it from anywhere, and it's also shareable. Right now, there's a whole lot of things that are just like that. So, but I'm just telling you what we use and what I use with my clients. But I would say that's probably the best way to answer that. And it's funny because we were both going to go in the exact same place on that, which is
shocker
cool.
there.
Just another example of how sports and business run side by side to that. So that is our coach's Q&A. Question of the week is, how do I organize my chaos? You just start with one thing. That's what you do. You choose your organizational system, which we gave you one right there, and you start with one thing, and all ships will rise with that tide. Well, that's a great question, Playmakers. Keep them coming. Rolling to us as you're watching this or you're listening to this. Shoot us an email, desi@maynerleadership.com. Give us those coaches Q&A questions, and we will answer your question right here on the pod. So this is where we're going to break down that real life leadership play. Okay. We're going to analyze what worked, what didn't, and what can you learn and take to the game to the next level. This is the film room debrief. So the first thing that we're going to debrief this time is Cole's going to ask me some questions about a client, and we're going to talk about training videos. Is there such a thing as a training video or videos or game film in sports school?
Just a little bit, maybe
just a little bit,
80% of what we do.
Just a ton, man. It's absolutely insane, especially like the higher up you go, high school, college, professional. Just more and more and more game study, essentially. So that's the goal of this segment, is what we want to do. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to break down. I've got this one client, right? They are the owner operator of the business. I'm going to go ahead and change the industry and say that they're in the plumbing industry, and what they're trying to do is to really scale. Okay. So they're trying to go, they're probably in the three-ish million, 4 or 5 million, somewhere in there, $3 to $5 million in revenue. They're trying to get to that, 5 to 7 to 10 million, which means they got to bring people on, essentially. When they bring people on, what do we need to do? We need to make sure that they're executing. Okay. So the thing that we started talking about here was, this is the owner operator just so happens to be, and also very commonly, the master certified plumber of the group as well, one of, right? But he's also been doing it the longest, and all of those types of things. So he's the best one in the team. So what we started to recommend was, let's just follow you around with the camera and have you explain what it is that you're doing throughout the day, right? So it's basically like if they're changing a drain or doing a 90-degree angle, or all the little tiny things. It's let's just video that. And here was the hiccup, and I think this is where this is going to help, is that they were like, we need to hire a photographer. We got to get the right lighting. We got to get, and I'm like, no, people. This right here, this phone, right? This more than enough. Okay. More than enough to start. There can be a version 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we just talked about just have somebody grab that phone and start to run these clips and record these training videos of what it is that you're doing, just one specific thing, one at a time. And then guess what? It almost goes back to the coach's Q&A question of like, okay, well, how do I organize these? Very simply, just put them in a folder on your phone to start. Later on, we can, organize and get them into a Google Drive folder later or whatever, or a SharePoint or whatever it is that we want to put it on, right? But you just start by actually capturing the footage. And yes, it can be completely raw. It doesn't have to be polished. You're just the teaching. You are the best person in the business. You're teaching the other person exactly how to do it. Cole, one of the first things I started to think about is just watching the right people on YouTube for a lot of the technique of your sport. Would you say that's a similar kind of comparison?
Yeah, I would say that's really similar. 100%.
So what we started to do, and they just started doing it on the first day. They recorded 7 videos, right? 7 videos. All of them were under 10 minutes, which was great. You really want nothing that's longer than 15 minutes because it'll be a snore fest anyways. But what that started to really play out for us, Cole, was breaking down the execution. Okay, which is the way that we define execution. I think you're going to love this. I don't know if you've actually heard this before. Is execution equals playbooks plus training times productivity. Okay, so what's a playbook? Well, that's probably the simplest one, and we've talked about it already today. It's the ABC, the 1, 2, 3 of how to run the play, which is why we were doing the recording videos. Essentially. So it's like we have the handwritten playbook, but now we were trying to also pair it with a video so that we could hit, the multiple learning modalities, essentially, in the learning types. So the training piece here, now we can take the written playbook along with the video playbook and use both of those things to train. Okay. Now, Cole, I want to get your perspective on this. What do you think? What is the best way to train in sports where they're going to retain the most knowledge and skill?
Well, I think it's a combination of things. So if there's a specific task that they want to complete, say it's, for me, scoring a goal, I think it's one, doing the action that you want to do, as well as videoing the action of you doing it.
Okay.
And breaking down what worked, what didn't work. So I think there's 3 things: you doing it, you watching yourself doing it, and you watching someone that you see do it really, really well that you want to model after. Those 3 areas, and then doing that over and over and over again until it's almost just every time it's consistent.
Yeah. And that's, I love that too. That's a good idea. That takes time, but it's kind of bulletproof in the end. A lot of times I'll talk about, and I'm sure this is within that system that you just gave, is like we talk about it, right? You watch me do it, right? Then we do it together, right? Which, isn't as possible in sports as it is, in plumbing in this specific scenario, but fill in the blank on the industry. And then I watch you do it, and then we talk about it. Right. And then I love yours actually, where like you video yourself doing it and then you give me your critique of yourself. So that's a really good one. I'm gonna add that in. And then let me ask you something here. And it's almost one of these hey man, I don't know if this is a dumb question or not, but I'm assuming somebody needs to hear it because we get it a lot. So like, how often should I train?
Here we go.
Once you learn how to score a goal, like you're good, right? You just kind of chill, right?
You continue to train always.
Right.
Every breath.
Yeah.
As long as your eyes are awake, you continue to train. Because the day you stop, what is that? The day you stop learning is the day you die or whatever. Like
start regressing. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you have to continue to learn because, and that was actually one of the biggest reasons that we started meeting, me as an athlete and you as the coach, is I came off a really good year.
Right.
And it was like, oh, I could have gone one or two ways. I had a really good year. I can continue doing what I'm doing, or I can add on top a mental performance piece that I had no idea about.
Yeah.
And so it's like I continue to learn and grow and be better and improve. And I think you have to continue to do that always.
That's why I always say times multiplication, which is productivity, right?
Yeah.
So people are always like, productivity is like it could be like one of those mythical words, Productivity essentially means how we're defining it is efficient, which is fast, and effective, which is good, right? Hence the continuous training, right? So there's so many companies. I would bet. In fact, I don't need to bet. It's a win already that more than half of you either watching or listening right now do not have a regular training schedule for their teams. Guaranteed, the data would literally show that probably only like 3.5 out of 10 companies have a regular training program for their teams, and more importantly, their leaders and both, right? So it's like we did the training, the initial training, great. How do we make sure that they are now get faster and faster at the thing and also better and better at that skill as well, whether it be a hard skill or a soft skill? So both of those things there. So we really started to break that down with this client. And then it was like, it almost came back to the coach's Q&A question of like getting a little chaotic. And it's like, okay, one thing, record the videos, right? And then we'll match them with the playbook. Then we'll figure out how to train on both of them. And then we'll walk through this step by step as we go here. But you got to have a training piece. 100%. Absolutely. That's our film room debrief of the week. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the winning plays in the film room. We did that. We handled it. You've got what you need. You have the execution framework now. So take that and rock with it. Now we're going to maybe learn from some not so great moments. So we're going to welcome you to the bonehead call of the week. And that's what we're going to talk about and spotlight a leadership fumble, let's call it. And we're going to turn it into a teachable moment for you so that you can avoid it overall. So this one comes from a very well-known company. You've probably took a ride in one of their cars. It is Uber. So this guy, the co-founder and the former CEO of Uber, he led the company to remarkable growth. We know this. We've probably took a ride in one of their vehicles. It was a global ride-sharing giant, essentially. So what happened and why is this the bonehead call of the week? They described their culture as toxic, like from the tip top down all the way to the person just driving the car, started to describe their culture as toxic. We're talking about your reports of sexism, harassment, aggressive business practices, horrible pay, just this overall environment. It didn't just tarnish Uber's reputation. It also led to basically just overall turmoil. So with all of these scandals and everything, he actually resigned from his position as CEO. So that was kind of like a pivotal moment. Like, what do we do with this? Right. And so they obviously started to fix what? Fix their culture. So what's the bonehead lesson? And then let's kick this off. Well, before we do even, Cole, let's talk about culture on on the gridiron, in the sports arena, on the pitch. How important is culture? And I think let's break this down and say today, right? This is 30 years ago, because I think that's a different conversation. How important is culture today in the workforce as well as on the pitch, in the gridiron, in the sports arena?
For sure. I think culture is one of those buzzwords that like some days I love it, like mystical some days I absolutely hate it. And I think it's in a lot of different facets. Like the way that we view culture here is a lot different than what another school or team may view culture. We view it largely, honestly, on performance is a big one for us. Because you can say you love each other, you can say you're a family, but if you don't get results, is that really a good culture?
Yeah, 100%.
And I think for us, it's like everything is focused on us molding into our game model. And I'm going to get really technical probably
Yeah,
here,
no, I love
probably
it.
more technical than you should. But we have this entire game model
Mhm.
that we like to play as, and I think for us,
Hold on, let's break this down though. So by game model, you mean just like this is how we are gonna win.
this is how we operate
Like
on a day-to-day
this
basis.
is our strategy,
Yeah,
along
100%.
with also how we're gonna operate.
It is everything.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
how we
Love it.
play,
Right.
and
So
how we
we
play
can
is
have
how
the
we
same type
operate.
of game model in sports and business then. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think for us, we have a very specific game model. And if we're following that to a T, that means our culture is on fire. If we're not following that to a T, that means our culture is struggling.
Yeah.
And in there's a lot of serving your team, there's showing up, there's ownership, all those other buzzwords that I think are really important.
Like you're talking just like core values, essentially.
Yeah, core values.
Yeah.
But I think a really good culture knows exactly what the vision is for the company, for the team, for the business,
where
whatever.
are we going?
Yeah, where are we going? Why are we going? What's the point?
Yeah. That's why I like mission. Mission is it's just a little bit more like tactical to me,
right?
Versus I want $100 million. We're gonna be the best, and it's like, yeah, but why? And that's where I feel like that mission comes into play. I just like the word mission better. I feel like a sports person likes the word mission better. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. You guys tell us. Comment below if you're watching on YouTube. Do you like vision or mission? We use them both. I like mission, but there you go.
Yeah, there you go. I like mission. I think it's better because it's very when you have a mission, you have everyone has specific roles. There's a vision. It's like the team adopts this idea, but when it's a mission, in order for a mission to be successful, every single individual has to be on point. Yeah. And I think when there's a lot of uneasiness within a culture and a team or an organization,
right,
their mission it doesn't line up.
Yeah, people aren't buying into that mission.
Yep.
And I think that's a key too when it comes to business is they have to, the setters of the mission, the leaders, right? They have to build the mission in a way that's, I'm going to say, to teach a culture on this word, buy-inable. It's like that mission sucks. Who wants to be a part of that? Where I've seen, pesticide companies and beer brewing companies have a really amazing mission. And at the end of the day, the people don't care the thing that they're doing throughout the day because they believe in that bigger mission so much. Mm-hmm. And they like the game model like we're talking about, which is, I love that way because we're basically operationalizing culture, which is great.
Which is where it should be, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think one of the best ways to operationalize culture is to, take this and say culture instead of this mythical word, this mystical thing concept. It's people like us do things like this, right? How do we want to behave? Which is essentially we buy into this idea, which is the mission, right? We're calling it the mission, people. And then what are our core values or tenets or principles or our game model? I call them core values. I like game model too. That's one today I might be buying into that. And it's essentially what are the 3 to 5 things that we want our people to act like, right? We want our behavior to adopt to this, right? Competitive greatness, sincere candor. I like to leave the word integrity out of it because I hope so, right? I hope so. Right. But I like the way that operationalizes the word culture a bit because it gives you okay, I want to strengthen my culture. What do I do? And it's
it gives you action items.
Yeah. Do you have a mission that's buy-inable?
Yeah.
Future quotes. Do you have core tenets and core values or a game model with 3 to 5 things that's this is how we operate?
Yeah.
Right? Type of thing. We're going to go fast, right? We're going to be physical, right? Or, in the business world, it's competitive greatness, sincere candor, elite communication, those types of things there. But I think that's a great way to look at it there. So you can't skip culture. Your culture's got to be strong. If your culture is strong, your leadership is strong. If your people you're talking about you're going to increase employee engagement, employee satisfaction, all ships are gonna rise with that tide. You're gonna make more money. You're gonna save more time because happy people tend to do more work and they tend to do it faster. There you go. Which is another way of Cole of saying, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong here. The players that are having fun tend to perform the best.
Yeah. You don't think as much.
Really, that seems like simple, and it's like it is, but it's true, right?
Yeah.
It is simple, but it is true. So I love it. Great. So we've seen basically what not to do in the Bonehead Call of the Week. So don't ignore your culture. Focus on it. Strengthen it every single day. Let's flip the script now, and let's focus on a winning strategy, which is called the Playbook. So this is where we're going to lay out actionable steps for you guys, basically to lead your team to victory. And today, Cole, what I want to do is give like a compare and contrast to talent acquisition, essentially. So how do we get talent? How do we select the talent? And then how do we keep the talent, basically? So in sports, that's recruiting, but also in business, same thing, right? So I'm looking at recruiting, interviewing, hiring, onboarding, training, and accountability. And I look at this just like you look at it, because we kind of discovered this together, to be honest. Tell me about the recruiting world as you kind of, in now your second or third year as a college coach. Recruiting's a piece of that. Talk to me about the compare and contrast of recruiting in sports and recruiting in business.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the thick of it right now. Our season ends in the fall, and so pretty much from November, December to August of next year, it is finding players that will fit in. And I think when you develop, and this goes back to the game model idea, when you develop a game model and you know how you're going to play, you know what's required of you, you're not just recruiting talent. You're recruiting specific talent for specific roles. You're not just trying to get someone good. You want someone specific. There might be someone better at overall sales, but if you're looking at a specific piece of sales, I want that person that's the best at that. And because I think
it fits the game model.
If it fits the game model.
Okay, so this is great. This is so good. I love it. Right? Hey, come back to us if you're running or whatever. Come back to us right now. Listen to this. One is recruiting is like a never-ending game. Is that what I'm hearing?
Never ends.
So we're always recruiting essentially. But then I think that you kind of said it without saying it, is that you're recruiting to fit the game model. Part of that game model is the culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you say would you recruit culture over talent?
No, I don't think so. Because if they fit the game model, then they fit the culture. And if they don't fit the game model, I'm not recruiting them.
So part of that game model is the culture.
Yes.
Right?
If they fill into the game model, the culture is in check. I understand, because I know what I'm expecting of my players.
Okay.
We know it's very black and white. So if you don't fit that, then there's no place for you here.
So we're looking for the culture, we're looking for the character, and we're looking for the competence, essentially.
Yeah.
Right. So there's your 3 C's of kind of recruiting, and also just always be recruiting. Okay. Yeah. Now that we get a pool, right? We got some things coming in because, in sports we go out and get them and they come to us, but same thing in business, right? We're running the Indeed ad, the LinkedIn, we're putting it on Glassdoor. We're doing all the things. Maybe we're even making, organic content, attracting people, telling them about our culture. But we're getting a pool of people. We're also out there just guerrilla marketing and guerrilla recruiting anyone who we think might be a really good fit of the character, the competence, the culture, all of those 3 things. Now, what do we do with making a decision of who we actually want?
Well, if they go through all the steps, it's the interview process. If you're going for a very high level position, you're going to get interviewed probably 6, 7, 8 times in that whole process. And it's not for just the company to see if it's a right fit. It's for the individual as well to see if, hey, can I do what's required of me here? And we do that. This whole process with these athletes that we bring in is they need to know exactly what they're getting themselves into,
Yeah.
because if they don't know, then they're going to leave, and that recruit
Yeah.
it's no point, and they're not going to enjoy themselves. So I think for us, it has to, both parties need to be on board big time, because
Yeah.
then the game model will thrive, and that's what's most important
Yeah.
for us.
Exactly. So, I mean, hire slow is basically what you're saying.
Yeah.
Have a process
Yeah.
that they walk through, right? I mean, I like a 2 minute video, like it, and literally any industry at any level. Send me a 2 minute video saying, why do you tell me about yourself and why do you want to work here? Right. After the video, I like something simple, like a 30-minute meet and greet on Zoom, similar to what we're doing right now. And then I like a full on, and I do like a culture interview, and then I do like a skills interview. So culture interview is just like, we're going to talk about all the culture and how you fit in that. And I'm going to ask you questions on that. I'm also going to do probably a communication, personality, behavior type of test in that realm. And we're going to walk through that whole piece to make sure that you're a fit in that area. Then if you check that box, I'm probably going to do a skills test, right? Or a skills interview where we're actually working on all of the hard skills and all of the soft skills that you would be doing in that. Right. So there I'm evaluating what can you do currently, and then how coachable are you and how quickly can you learn. Right. And then from there, I'm talking probably another final interview. Right. And that can be, as long as, 15, short as 15 minutes, as long as an hour. And that's probably where I'm asking one or two final things. And I've probably got the offer letter with me there. And then we start the actual onboarding, which is also another process, just like the interviewing. And then the training, which is also another process. And then once they're fully on board, once they're fully trained, now we can hold them accountable to all of that and make them more and more productive with ongoing training. Right. So like it's a thing. It's a method. It's a framework. It's a step-by-step process. It doesn't, in order to get and keep the best talent, that is something that everyone is trying to figure out right now, right? And I'm telling you, it's more work than you think, but is it worth it? 100%. It's worth every second of it. I mean, I would rather play with 4 offensive linemen and a tight end if I absolutely love them. They're bought into the mission. The game model is right, and they fit all of the pieces than, 4 and an absolute slob who doesn't know what they're doing. Right. So it's like I would rather play with less that are bought in and that I love because they're A players. Right. All right. We have a game ball to give out, Cole. The game ball this week goes out to Mr. Dan Campbell of the Detroit Lions. Go Lions. They obviously laid a goose egg, dropped the ball on that game. But, man, the first thing you see him doing as the leader of that organization is he's in front of that mic, and he is like, I mean, basically you can tell he's enraged. He's pissed. He's getting emotional basically just because, I mean, the whole season is now done, everything they went through. And one of the first things he says is, it's my fault. It's my fault. It's my fault. Right. And that to me it's absolute accountability. It's the number one most important thing that a leader can do. And that's exactly what he did in the hardest moment to do it. Right. And some people are like, man, I don't even know if it is all his fault. Like, how could he have controlled the injuries or, this call or that OC or DC or whatever? But man, that was the most important thing to do at the most important time to do it. And he said, it's my fault. It's my fault. It's my fault. And to me, that makes him game ball worthy as we look at these Detroit Lions and what they were able to do. So, man, you want to know how to strengthen culture, how to get a team to run through a freaking brick wall for you? Talk about Dan Campbell. Take a look at that guy and what he does. Watch the Inside the Dens. Those are great. Watch the other pieces of the hard knocks that they put out. All those types of things. You can learn a lot.
Yeah, you want your team to run through a brick wall for you. How about you do it first?
Yeah, you do it first.
You do it
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, I love it. And whatever that analogy looks like for you, but that's the exact way to do it, man. No doubt. All right, we got an action plan for you as we wrap this down. So the first thing, and one of the most important things that we want you to be looking at, is to always be recruiting, right? Just because you're recruiting doesn't mean you're interviewing, doesn't mean you're hiring and onboarding and training and holding people accountable, but you can always be recruiting for that culture, for that competence, and for that character. Always be looking for the right players that you need in your corner, and that way you will be able to get and keep top talent. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Game Plan Leadership Podcast with co-host Cole Russell and me, Desi Mayner, your host. We are good. We are out. I'm going to play the outro, and here we go. Great huddle, playmakers. This strategy session was packed with powerful plays and game-winning insights designed to elevate your leadership, drive your team to victory, and make your business better than ever. As a coach, both on and off the field for over 20 years, I live for those game-changing moments, and I'm sure that you just scored a few during this episode. Now, it's your turn to make a move. Share your winning plays and your key takeaways by leaving a review wherever it is that you tune in, whether that's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. And don't keep this game plan to yourself. Share this episode with a fellow leader who's in the trenches and who's ready to level up their leadership game. Your feedback fuels my drive and keeps me in the game, crafting these strategies and sharing insights just for you. And if you're ready to take your leadership and operations to the next level, then book a free leadership audit to learn more by visiting us at www.maynerleadership.com. Keep leading strong, stay in the fight, and make today a powerful one. Until next time, keep pushing for victory.